Hello, welcome to the second 3 over 32 podcast. Like I said before, my name's Greg, and we're going to dive into the NFL trades today, all the trades that's been happening over the offseason for every team that's been active and looking for their new pieces coming into the season. Of course, Matt and Will, they're back at it again. The boys are buzzing. Here we go.
What's good? What's good?
Yo. All right, dude. You want to go into pick a trade and we'll talk about it and then we'll go from there, brother.
Yeah, let me just
Oh, for sure.
let's look at them. All right.
I see my favorite team right there, so I'm going to go straight to it. The Vikings obtaining pick 123. And what is that? A seventh round for pick 232 from the Texans. Okay, we give up our second round next year. And our two fourth rounds this year. I mean, I like it. It gives us more opportunity to move up in the draft to solidify our next starting QB. I mean, I truthfully don't think Sam Darnold's that guy. He just hasn't proven it to me in New York. I don't even want to talk about San Francisco appearance. What is that? 3 interceptions lost, and I mean, I I really believe in Coach O'Connell and Quezzy. I really believe in their sturdiness. I believe in their health and maintenance of the team management. I mean, we drafted Justin Jefferson. We can't not go out there and get him his A caliber quarterback. I mean, what do y'all think here? I mean, it's suitable that we're trying to trade up into the draft.
Yeah, I think without a doubt you guys trade up to find your next starting quarterback. I think getting the pick 23 in the first round just gives you more capital to do so. You can also maneuver that pick for another piece potentially that you may want later on. Pick up some second, third round stuff. Depends on what the situation is at hand and who you guys trade up to get. But yeah, I certainly think that gives you a lot more capital. You're rocking with Justin Jefferson as you always have. He needs a quarterback to throw it to him, and he needs to be good. He needs to step in there and someone who can produce early and be a winner. So I definitely agree with everything that you said there. It's a good and solid move for you guys.
I mean, there's nothing about it that makes me cautious. Just makes me more interested in what's going to happen in this upcoming draft. We're about to witness one of the best drafts in all time of the NFL, at least in our generation. We're having the star caliber quarterbacks come out. Yeah, we can talk Caleb. Yeah, we can talk all that. That'll be next episode, of course. But I'm telling you, there's a lot of star talent in this draft, and I'm very excited to see where these pieces land. Matt, you have anything talking about just Vikings Texans in general?
I like what the Vikings did. They're obviously gonna trade up. I'd be surprised if they don't. I'm not sure what QB they're going for though right now. If they are gonna trade up, because JJ McCarthy, I mean, he's being hyped up a lot right now. I just don't think he's worth trading up for. Um, but that being said, Vikings definitely need QB. So whether that is enough to get them to top in the top four, we'll find out. If I don't know, but yeah, I'd be surprised if they don't try to trade up for a QB here. So we'll see.
Oh, yeah, for sure. I mean, I'll go through these, and there's not really much to say as it's just the trades that's been going on. I'm sure our audience and you guys all know that these moves are made to make each team better, but let's just dive into it. The Panthers getting the Deontay Johnson from the Steelers. That's huge with a pick, but they gave up a cornerback. I mean, the Panthers are going to be the Panthers. They have Bryce Young. Call me crazy, but I believe Bryce Young is the worst quarterback in the NFL due to his height and weight, his caliber of playing, and just how he is on the field. I mean, yeah, what did they win? 4 or 5 games last year? Not even.
Yeah,
They
they were
were they were
bad.
destined to they were destined to number one, and they blew it. And now they got what? Deontay Johnson.
But let's
Sorry,
be honest though,
all this.
last year's draft class, we were pretty surprised how few of those QBs played. We thought, you know, we didn't expect a lot of them to actually play well. So,
Yeah, I
Yeah,
think
I
it's I
true.
think it's I'm kind of when we talk later on about the draft, I'm kind of tired of people, passing judgment too quickly on the rookies sometimes. I think Bryce Young, it'll be interesting to see how he does in his sophomore year, getting this acquisition in Deontay Johnson. I mean, he didn't have a lot of help. He really didn't have much to go by, so we'll see if he has another terrible year. Yeah, you can say the franchise moves on, but I mean, just going off 1 year with really not much going on in Carolina, I think it's still yet to be seen, and I'd like to see how he progresses in year 2.
And let's not forget, they fired their coaching staff in less than a year. So,
Yeah.
like, what
So it's a
QB is
whole
gonna
nother
have any
regime in there.
success?
Yeah,
Yeah. So,
exactly.
yeah.
I mean, I get it. It's just based off of his performance. I mean, we were all on the wave of CJ Stroud being an MVP caliber quarterback once he brought them to the playoffs and destroyed the beaten up Browns. We've talked about that for hours, but I mean, logically, that Panthers team, Bryce Young is not leading them to the promised land, and unless they make something crazy happen within this next 2 years, I can see him following the same footsteps of probably Trey Lance. I'm not gonna lie, but whatever. We'll get into this all later on.
Yeah.
Keenan Allen, new wide receiver target for the destined #1 overall Caleb Williams in Chicago. I think this is a good move for Chicago. You're getting a wide receiver, veteran wide receiver, coming off a great year from LA. But LA, what are we doing? I can see what we're doing. See what we're doing, trying to eliminate the salary cap space because it was quite heavy on y'all. But fourth round, fourth round pick. I mean, Keenan Allen's worth at least a third. I get it. He's 30 years old, but like, come on, man. What are we doing here? I mean, I get Harbaugh loves his fucking young studs, but really a fourth round for Keenan? This looks like some debauchery fantasy football trade, I swear.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
I,
think
I
I
really
think that's
swear.
definitely undervalued for Keenan Allen with the year he's coming off last year in LA. We knew with Harbaugh coming in to the Chargers that it was going to be a hard reset, except for Justin Herbert. We all knew that. They got rid of Eckler. They got rid of a lot of those more veteran guys. But yeah, fourth round for him, pretty undervalued. But again, great work by the Chicago Bears. It's another weapon that Caleb Williams is going to come right into the fold and be able to hit and throw to. So again, another really, really good move by the Chicago Bears. And I'm sorry for the Vikings, man, but it's just another player that you're now going to have to defend week in and week out. So,
It's going to be rough. We're already having trouble trying to cover DJ Moore. Anybody saw that Thursday night football game late in the season last year? It's going to be a rough one. It's going to be a rough one. But Chicago, you're looking on the better days now in the NFC North. Going into it, Chiefs, Titans. We talked about this last episode. Snead is a great cornerback. I think that's a solid pick for the Titans. The Chiefs needed to do this based off their salary cap, and they're trying to bring in more weapons, aka Marquise Brown, and whatever's going on with Rashee Rice. They got to try and recover that. The Travis Kelsey doesn't really know what he's destined to on the scheme of things. If he's on the bridge of retirement, if he's not, but he's still that #1 guy. So I can see why they did it. And Snead wanted the big money contract. Chiefs don't have that big money anymore. They're paying Chris Jones now. Patrick Mahomes still. They're going to be paying Kelsey if he resigns there and doesn't retire. I think it's a good solid swap. You get a third round pick next year and a little swap scheme, the seventh rounder. Sure, take it. Go for it. I don't think you guys really have much to say about that. I mean, it's quite simple now.
Yeah,
If
I
you
mean,
guys have any thoughts on
I was
Snead.
just gonna say, like, I think the Titans are making good moves. In the last episode, I mentioned that they're kind of like a team we don't really know about yet, how they're gonna perform next year. This trade's huge. I love this trade for them. So going into next year, new head coach, things are looking good for the Titans, I think, right now, making good moves.
Easy.
Yeah.
I'm sorry to dive into this, but the Arizona Cardinals and the Falcons did the first ever, I guess, of the offseason. I don't know if it's historically wise, but it's a 1-for-1 player swap. What are we doing here, Arizona? Are we getting rid of Kyler Murray? Is Kyler Murray on the outs of Arizona?
Hell
no,
no. No way.
Are
no chance.
you
He's
sure
going
about
for,
that?
they're adding depth to the roster. I don't see it anything more than that. I think uh, Desmond Ritter clearly did not work out in Atlanta, and they brought Kirk Chains in to take that role on the big money. We all know. No, there's no chance that they go away from Kyler at all.
I
Okay,
agree.
hear me out. It's a younger quarterback. he's produced in the NFL, whether it was a win and lose or whatever his season records were. I mean, that kind of hints towards something. I've heard skeptical news about Kyler Murray getting traded to a quarterback needy team, and that could be the first steps of it. That's just how I'm seeing it. They're sitting at what, pick 4? I mean, that's could be this could be what we inevitably don't want, but I want to say Kyler Murray will stay in Arizona, but that could necessarily fall the shoes. I know Matt, you're dying for the Brian Burns trade, so I'm just gonna let you
Yeah.
run with that, man.
No, I love that trade. I think Brian Burge is a stud. I really do. Considering the Rams were going to trade, I think it was 2 firsts for him a couple years ago, if I'm not wrong.
Yeah,
I
yeah, it
This
was.
is an absolute steal. And not only that, they were able to negotiate the contract that he wanted before the trade happened. So it's not like having it a sign and trade is, I think, a steal as well. Um, so I just think there's nothing wrong with this trade. You just can't. There's no negatives to it. Giants need a solid pass rush. Now they have a big three, you could say, on that D line, and yeah, they're just building from the trenches, which I keep mentioning. Uh, and I love Brian Burns.
Didn't he
Think
sign?
think it
Didn't he
was a
sign like a
sign.
150 mil deal?
Yeah, it was a huge contract. Don't get me wrong, it was huge, but I think Brian Burns is one of the best disruptive pass rushers in the whole league. So I have no problem with the price tag at all. I think pass rushers are going to be the most expensive players behind QBs, and that's that. I have no negatives about it. I love the trade.
No, I agree. It definitely is a working piece, and it's definitely needed after what you guys lost. I mean, defensively now y'all are sound. You may look like the New York Jets. They have a solid defense. I'm not gonna lie.
I
You just
mean,
need to work out that secondary. You
yeah,
just
I was
need to
gonna
work
say
out that
secondary,
secondary.
secondary. I like every other piece. Everything else looks pretty good. Secondary though,
Yeah,
yeah.
for sure. Diving right into it, Will. I know you're gonna have a lot to say about this with the Steelers and Fields, but let's just get to it. Fields goes to Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh sends Chicago a 2025 sixth round pick. Oh boy.
Yeah, obviously when we talk about the draft, I'll kind of cover a little bit more about this, but I think it's absolutely absurd that you take a top 2 pick 2 years later when you've given him nothing and trade him away for a 6th round pick, to move on to Caleb Williams. Obviously, it's not great that he's going interdivision to the Steelers, biggest rival. But I will say this: I hope he proves everybody and the Chicago Bears wrong. I think Justin Fields is a work in progress. I think he can be a great QB. He's shown flashes that he really can. Obviously, he made a lot of mistakes. He made a lot of crunch time mistakes, which everyone can see. But I still think he's a great athlete. I think he's a great player, and I think he now has the biggest chip on his shoulder ever, getting traded away for basically nothing and going right into a quarterback competition with Russell Wilson throughout the next year. So I think it's going to be interesting to see how he progresses. I hope he answers the haters, and I hope he absolutely goes off, because I don't agree with drafting a rookie QB, giving them nothing, moving on to someone else, and then giving that person everything. We'll get into later how I really feel about Caleb Williams. I just don't like him, so that could also be a factor in this. But I think it's a great trade for Pittsburgh. I really do. I think Mike Tomlin's, again, a legendary coach. He's going to coach him up right, and I think it could pan out to be something potentially great in Pittsburgh.
I want to be the devil advocate here. Advocate here. What do you mean they gave him nothing? I mean, they just got DJ Moore from the Panthers for him. What was that? Last season? This season? I'm not
Last
sure.
season,
But
I would say that offensive line was definitely not what it could have been.
okay. And then what about the defense? The defense is something. You have
The defense is
something
solid.
riding with it.
The defense is solid. And listen, what I will say is that he did throw interceptions and he did do things that were pretty awful. I'm not going to lie. But again, I just don't understand how, you move on so quickly in a league that's completely given up on developing a quarterback. You're taking a 22, 23-year-old player who has not stepped foot in the NFL, throwing him into a game immediately, and if he doesn't perform in a year or two, he's automatically bounced, and you move on to the next 22-year-old. So that's what I fundamentally don't agree with.
I can agree with you on that. I mean, I stand with the city of Chicago in saying that they wanted to stay with Fields. I believe they should have. I thought it would have been amazing to see more of Justin Fields in the NFC North. Caleb Williams, if you don't make it, brother, you have the weapons galore, and if you don't make it to at least 9-10 wins, like what are you doing, brother? What are you doing?
Exactly.
This high prospect. We'll get into this later. Let's go to Seattle. I mean, Seattle with Sam Howell. I think that's their next quarterback. Don't get me wrong. I mean, they're going to be a playoff hungry team in the West. Whether it's going to be the Rams dropping off with Stafford once he's gone, the 49ers botching it as if they always do, and the Cardinals don't really have much to say about. But I mean, Sam Howell, he performed well in Washington for the first 5 weeks last season, and now we're going to see him in Seattle green. I mean, I don't say I hate it. I mean, the Commanders got another third and a fifth from him. He was their first round pick, if I'm not mistaken. But I mean,
Yeah.
Seattle, you getting a whole lot, man. You're getting your fourth, a sixth, and Sam Howell. That I want to be. I want to be in Seattle for that, man. I want to see him ride the wave in Seattle. See what the 12th fan really got going on. And now
Yeah.
the big one that I absolutely despise, Stephon Diggs to Houston. Let it out, boys. Let's see what's going on here. Only for a second round pick, not for this year, but for next.
I just want to
Let me hear
say
it.
that Stephon Diggs, the rumors of him leaving the Bills have been happening for years now. So I don't think any of us should be surprised by this. I really don't.
No.
There's been so many rumors that came out about him being a locker room just nightmare at sometimes. And I guarantee you, they went up to Josh Allen and they were like, "We're gonna make this trade. Are you okay with it?" And he said yes. I guarantee you. So I if and is Stephon Diggs the same player that he was? No, he's not. He showed signs of it last season, but later in the year he fell off. And especially in that playoff game against the Chiefs, he had probably the biggest play of his career that he dropped a wide open, well, not wide open, but that deep ball from Josh Allen that was like a 60, 70-yard bomb that he dropped. I mean, that's a nail in the coffin. He's definitely past his prime. And yes, it's good that the Texans are getting a vet like him, and their wide receiver core and their wide receiver group in general is really good now. But I mean, what it would the receiver core been okay without him for the Texans? Yeah. Um, but I don't know. I think it was time for him to move on. So, yeah.
I mean, truthfully, I see no surprise here. We saw what he did to Minnesota once we're seeing more of Adam Thielen during the time. He did the Minnesota Miracle and was like, I'm outie. Let's get it to it. So now you have one of the best quarterbacks in the league, and you're trying to say I'm outie because you can't get over the hump. I mean, you can't get over the hump because your bum ass is down the line, and you can't even try and catch a ball or try and even grab one or at least go for 100 yards in a game, especially the AFC. Any type of AFC playoffs. Like, what are we doing here? I think Buffalo's in a great situation now. I get why they only wanted a second round pick. They gave up two other picks, but it made it work. You're getting a second round for next year, and who knows? I'm not into college ball like that. I hope to get into it as the season goes on, but especially with the NCAA coming out.
Mm, true.
But I mean, truthfully, it's all about it is like they could be sitting on a prime spot for a star talent wide receiver in the second round, and we may not know
That's a
next
good
season.
point. That's a good point.
Will, I'm gonna let you take this one over. Joe Mix.
Yeah,
That's
I
a
think we kind of touched on this in the last one, so I won't go too crazy with it. I think it's a great pickup for the Texans, veteran running back. We know he can do. He gave us 7 great years. Now we got Zach Moss coming in the fold in Cincinnati. We get a 7th round pick again. A little undervalued, but he's older. I think it's a great pickup for the Texans to just bolster that offense, and we'll see what happens. It's a shame. He's one of my favorite players, but I knew at the end of last year, kind of knew we were going to lose him just because we couldn't pay him. It's just what happens.
And
So,
that's that.
I'll be rooting for him.
Yeah.
Unless we play him in the playoffs, I'll be rooting for him down in Houston. I think he's going to have a good offense to work with, and I think we'll see him get some tutters, man.
I'd love to see that. I'd love to hear it from you coming as a longtime Joe Mixon fan. I know he's your boy, but I mean,
Yeah.
there's not real much we could say about it. Joe Mixon is a stud. Houston's got another stud in their offensive
Yep.
scheme of things. Cincinnati picked up a 7th round. I mean, it's not bad, but it could be your next Joe Mixon. Who knows? I know it's not
You never know.
very
Yeah.
running back heavy draft class, but
You never
it's the
know.
way
You
it's
never
going.
know. So I totally agree with you on that, man. Totally agree.
I'm just gonna scheme through these next two. I mean, Detroit going with Carlton Davis, of course, it's a crazy vet corner. I know they needed it after leave with Herbie Joseph. But I mean, you have now a vet in your secondary. It's well needed in the NFC North. Look who you're gonna now: Justin Jefferson, Keenan Allen, and the makings and upcomings of the next Jordy Nelson and Randall Cobb in Green Bay. Hassan Reddick to the New York Jets. It's huge. The New York Jets defense just got even better. I'm going to stop here. They only got rid of a conditional 2025, I want to say, or 2026 round pick for him. But let's just talk about Zach Wilson. He got traded for just a 6th-round pick, so the Jets got it back. And the Jets gave the Broncos Zach Wilson and I believe a 7th-round pick. How do you guys feel about that? Last thing I'm going to say, 2021 draft class, it's wraps besides T-Law. Go on if you have that input. I mean,
Yeah.
Zach Wilson, that Denver Broncos team just got a little bit worse. Not gonna lie.
Yeah, I don't really think that that's going to be too much of a change. I'd be watching out for the Denver Broncos to potentially draft a quarterback somewhere along the way, even if it's not, it's probably not going to be one of the high profile names, but I do see them picking someone up along the way. Zach Wilson, another one who walked into a coaching carousel in New York, didn't have a lot of weapons, young kid. I think he got highly, highly overvalued based on his pro day. I mean, he had probably the best pro day throws I've ever seen, which is crazy. But I think he really seeing him play live a couple times and just watching the Jets dumpster fire as it panned out. I mean, man, he really has an inability to just read a defense. I think he's now going to be kind of one of those guys that
Uh,
bounces around, becomes a career backup, and kind of just floats around the league for a few years. I just don't really see too much there
what
anymore,
would
really.
be what would be fucking crazy if they signed him now? If they sign Zach Wilson to an extension, I will freak
No
out.
way.
Yeah,
The Denver
I don't see
Broncos
that at
with
all.
Sean Payton leading the pack and Zach Wilson throwing the ball. We're watching the Ringley Brothers circus right there.
Yeah, I
No.
don't see that. I don't see any way, shape, or form. I mean, look, the switch up, I could be completely wrong here. The switch up going to a new team, going to a new franchise, we've seen it before, can play wonders on a player. When he gets out of one system, he moves into another. But I don't really see how the Denver Broncos aren't really the one of the worst teams in the league next year, and I don't think this trade has any factor on it, to be honest. I think he's just going to be a role player, a backup. If the starter, whoever that may be next year for them, gets injured, he can come in and fill the void. But I don't see it being a big
Right.
deal.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. Pretty much everything that Will said. I just don't think Zach Wilson's ever going to start in this league again. So, whatever they think
I
he's going
mean,
to be, I don't get it, but we'll see, I guess, what he ends up being.
it's rough. It's rough for Zach Wilson out there. He does like moms, so hide your moms. But anyway, diving into Kenny Pickett, send him off. This is the first steps of acquiring Justin Fields. Kenny Pickett goes to the Philadelphia Eagles, and they trade as well a 4th-round pick to them and receive a 3rd round, 7th round, and another 7th round in 2025. I believe this is a great move to get Justin Fields, see what it's going to be like with 2 competing star quarterbacks now in that, room. And with Mike Tomlin being what is known to be known, the quarterback whisperer, let's see what happens in Pittsburgh. I mean, getting a third round this year is not crazy, especially for Kenny Pickett. We saw Justin Fields leave for a 6th round pick. If you look right next to it, Kenny Pickett for a third, I'd take that any day. I'm not sure what you guys think about that. I mean, I think it's a solid lock on deal there.
Yeah, I mean that was you nailed it right on the head there. That was to free up the room for Justin Fields. He's going to be backing up Jalen Hurts if he ever gets injured or something like that. So he at least has a year or two under his belt in the NFL. He can take some meaningful snaps. But yeah, good pickup, third rounder. Another good move by the Steelers this year. So it'll be interesting to see how that goes for him.
Yeah, third
For
round
sure.
pick's high. I'm surprised they got third round pick for him. So
Agreed.
that was a
Agreed.
good, that was a really good
It's
trade.
huge. It's huge. Um, Jumping back to it, Jerry Judy now going to Cleveland. This was destined. I believe Denver needed to exploit their cap after Russell Wilson. They gave up, or they received a 5th and 6th round pick in 2024. Got rid of one of their star weapons that didn't really turn out well. But now he's coming in with Amari Cooper at one, Deshaun Watson throwing the ball, we hope, Nick Chubb running. I think this is solid for Cleveland to compete in the AFC North. I mean, I'm not going to lie. You see a lot of teams nowadays, 2 punches on the perimeter, T. Higgins, Jamar Chase. And now what? You got Amari and Jerry Judy. I'll take that. I'll take that with whatever Cleveland's cooking up. Will, I don't know about you, but are you a little skept about this? I mean, they're coming into your division. I would be a little bit worried as your division got a bit hard.
Oh yeah, yeah, and again, I think you made a really good point. I think a lot of teams are trying to have that kind of 1-2 punch on the outside. A guy who can run deep like Amari Cooper, and a guy who can fill slot at different points like Jerry Judy can. So yeah, definitely worried. It's just more ways that they're going to be able to get Deshaun Watson to spread the ball around the field. So yeah, definitely scary. Very similar to what the Bears did with Keenan Allen. Just bringing in someone who has some NFL experience, a lot of snaps under his belt, a lot of starting wide receiver experience. So yeah, definitely a worry for us defensively, and they're going to be spreading the ball out and spraying it with Deshaun. So
For
we'll
sure.
see. We'll see.
Um, these are real quick. Ryan Bates, offensive tackle. Like you said, Will, they need to bulk up on that offensive line. They got it. They only gave up a 5th round pick to the Bills. Wraps right there. Again, the poverty of the 2020 draft class. QBs, Mac Jones sent from the Patriots home to the star quarterback himself. T Law, Mac Jones, you are now in Jacksonville. Have fun in Jacksonville. Malik Collins. I mean, I like this. They needed an interior defensive lineman for San Francisco. I truly like it after getting rid of Eric Armstead. They only gave a 7th round pick. Houston, you can now bolster that up. I believe that 7th round. No, they didn't go to minute. No, they just basically took their 7th round pick back that they traded to Minnesota. If you look at it, then Morgan Moses, New York Jets. I like it. I like it. You need to protect Aaron Rodgers, but you can't protect him from the turf. So good luck with it. And I hope he is reliable as much as you believe in him, giving the Ravens a 4th and a 6th round for this year's draft. Hopefully you guys don't botch it. Aaron Rodgers, I hate you. And yeah.
uh, yeah, Jets are they're toast, man. They're done. No, I'm just kidding. They'll be decent. We'll see. I
I
like the
hope
Jets
not.
next year. I think they're actually gonna be okay. I don't know.
Uh, I don't want to say they're gonna not be okay because they're probably gonna be decent. I just don't want to think of any scenario that the New York Jets
Oh.
lead the AFC East. I don't want to think of it. I don't want to dream of it. I don't even want to put it in the world. Let that be done. Dust under the rug.
Agreed.
Will, I know you hate the Jets fans. Preach it, brother. I need you right now.
Listen, man, I don't want to jinx it. I do think that the Jets are going to be a solid team. I don't really see how they are not going to be, especially with Aaron Rodgers coming back and taking over the starting role again. If he's healthy, they're going to be contenders. They're going to be able to compete, and that defense alone won them most of the games that they won last year. So that is incredible in and itself. Um,
Yeah.
I hope they go 0-17. I've never ever liked the Jets. I think that they're a horrible franchise. I think they have a pretty awful fan base. So we'll see, but you can't deny that they have great players both offensively and defensively this year. This is the best Jets team we've probably seen on paper in our lifetime. Certainly better than those Mark Sanchez teams that went to the AFC Chips. On paper. So it'll be
Exactly.
interesting, but it's a yeah, but it's a much harder league now. So we're gonna see what happens, but we'll see.
For sure.
All right.
I just want to dive straight into the question marks. Let's see what it's all about. Giants, Vikings, Bengals. I see Daniel Jones gleaming you in the eye right now. Why don't you take that one over? What are we talking about, Daniel Jones? Is he a Giant next year? Is he a starter? And what are the problems?
I mean, he's gonna be the starter week 1. I think that's gonna happen. I'm not a Daniel Jones fan. I thought he was gonna win me over once he won or once he beat the Vikings that one game in the playoffs. He had a really good game. That's probably his peak though. That's his peak. And I'm not trying to throw shade towards you or your team. I'm just saying like he looked good that game. He really did. I'm not even gonna lie. But uh yeah, he's not a player that sparks me as someone who makes the team better, like at all. And that's the job as a QB. You gotta make your whole team better. So I just think because of that contract mistake they made with him, they need to start him. They'll have that obligation to. I and we'll go into the draft stuff, but I'll just say right now they're gonna draft a QB. Whether they trade up for one, hope one lands to them, move back into the draft later in the rounds to get one. It's going to happen. So they're not going to trade Daniel Jones because of the contract. He's going to stay. He's going to start week 1 because they'll have a rookie QB that's going to be sitting on the bench. And we'll see what happens. We'll see how long he lasts in behind center. I don't think he's going to be lasting past this year though, if we're going that far.
I mean, that's fair to say. I do find there is still a scenario for you guys to trade him to a quarterback needing team.
His contract's huge though
And
for 1 year.
yeah, that's the problem. I mean, I don't think a lot of teams are hungry for it, but you guys are
No.
pick 6, if I'm not
Yeah,
mistaken.
6, yeah.
You draft a quarterback now paying this quarterback all this money. That's gonna be a hard hit for New York, man.
They're gonna cut
That's
him after
gotta
this
be
year,
hard.
though. They're gonna cut him after this year. They're gonna take
What
the.
is it, like 40 or
Yeah,
60 mil in
it's not like
dead
I
cap?
don't think it's like crazy, but imagine they have a rookie QB on the contract. They cut him. They have they have a young team. I mean, they have a lot of guys on lower end contracts. They've already paid their big guys. They're not paying
I mean,
anyone
that's fair.
else. They're not. They paid their big guys. Now they're just got to build through the draft, hope their youth plays well, and see what happens. But for now, cutting Daniel Jones next year is not going to make the team worse. It's just not. They'll pay the dead cap and move on. They're hoping this draft to get players that are good that can help the team improve. But they're not gonna let the Daniel Jones contract really dictate how this team is going to be built. It's just not going to happen. They're already doing that now with his contract.
That's fair.
Yeah, and it's
Yeah.
That's
I don't
fair to
think there's
say.
gonna be I don't think there's gonna be teams that are gonna be lining up for the Daniel Jones train,
He's going to
dude.
get
If I'm
cut.
being a bit,
Yeah,
and
he's going
he'll
to
get
get
picked up as
cut.
a backup somewhere.
Yeah, and he's a backup. That's just how it's going to happen. For sure.
I mean, I'm not gonna lie. I see Daniel Jones following Joshua Dobbs' steps.
Maybe.
I don't even know if he's gonna have any kind of spark. I don't know. Yeah, I don't
I
know.
don't think he's going to make a team better though. Josh Dobbs actually made a
Yeah.
team better for like a few games, not going to lie. I don't know. I just don't see it happen.
Oh man. Oh man. I mean, hey, that's you make solid points there. I agree. I see him staying, taking the week 1 start, and then y'all cutting him. I
Yeah.
there could be an imaginary scenario where he gets traded to, let's just say, I can't even say it. There's not even a team out there that I can say he would take on that much.
Whatever team needs a
But
QB this year is going to draft one.
yeah, oh, he could go to the Broncos.
Oh my god. Dude, the Broncos are in the deep end of the ocean if they do that. That would not be a good
Jesus.
move.
No, that'd be terrible.
That would be awful. Oh my god.
Uh, all right. Well, we heard news earlier 2 weeks ago that T. Higgins is staying in Cincinnati. You think this is
I
a move to trade him in the draft, or do you think it's a move to keep Cincinnati Orange?
I think personally it's a move to keep him in Cincinnati. To be completely honest with you, I think we want him. I think he wants to win. I think he loves playing with Joe Burrow. He loves playing with Jamar. I think he wants to win. I'm surprised. I sat here 2 weeks ago and said that he was going to leave, so I'm completely surprised. I will say I do think that um, it could potentially be a move later on. I really don't see us moving up in the draft. We're at 18. I think we know who we're going to get, and we'll talk about this later. I know we're going to get an offensive lineman. We're not going to do anything crazy. Like, we're not going to move up to get another wide receiver if we get rid of him. That's just not going to happen. Because if we do, those guys are going to want to get paid receiver one money as well. So it's just not going to happen. So I think if we can keep them, great. If we don't, we're still going to be able to find something later on in the draft or potentially through, a trade or something like that. I'm just surprised. I'm surprised. I thought he was going to be gone by now already. If he stays another year or whatever, great. I just don't think that we're going to be able to pay him in the long run. But I think he likes it. He likes it here. He wants to win a Super Bowl. We want him here. He's a great player, man.
I mean, truthfully, I really thought he was going to get traded to the Giants. I'm not going. I 100% thought he was getting traded there.
Nah, I never saw that happening.
It was
I
either
thought he
that
was
or
looking at
Carolina.
it. Or Carolina, yeah, I thought he was gonna go to Carolina, but even the team doesn't matter, man. I thought he was just gonna be gone by now because he is good enough to be a wide receiver one anywhere else. But if he stays in Orange, it's gonna be
Even better.
we
The
we got to
1-2
do it.
punch.
We got to do it this year, man. We got to do something. So we'll
Hopefully, you
see.
guys make that playoff push with Buffalo being out of it. I'm not going to lie.
We'll see. We'll see.
Now, the big halting question, Justin Jefferson, I believe he stays in Minnesota. After all these moves, Kirk O'Shane's being gone, being evidently dropped to Atlanta, tampering reasons, whatever it is, I think he now has fully deep in Minnesota's front office to make decisions on who the next QB1 will be in Minnesota. Okay,
No
Sam
question.
Darnold is there to fill the void from the offseason free agency period to the NFL draft. That's why you were seeing a lot of remarks. Justin Jefferson getting traded. He's jealous about Jamar Chase, Joe Burrow scenario. Dude, this man has the full capability. It's the Rodgers effect at wide receiver. This man will be paid millions. I see a destined contract of $155 million over 5 to 4 year deal. I see it happening with Justin Jefferson. I don't see us making the dumbest move in NFL history with this player. We've done it once with Randy Moss, but I mean, truthfully, that dude was also on his way out. He went to 4 other teams after us, and I can see Justin Jefferson possibly doing the same or him staying in Minnesota for the rest of his career. I'd love to see him stay there, but there is no way we trade him. Watch by the end of the draft, after the draft, before mini camp, whatever it is, before the NFL season, this man will get his bag. We are throwing the entire city of Minneapolis at him if in any circumstance. I mean, you guys
Yeah.
can disagree with me, agree with me or not.
No.
I mean, he's not moving.
I,
We would have
no.
seen him move.
There's no question, dude. If you're Minnesota, if you're the Vikings, you will do. Yeah, you will give him the key to the city to let him stay. There's no question that He's going anywhere. I think you're right. It's the Rodgers effect, essentially, where they're going to him right now, and they're saying
This is
we're trading up to four. Who this is who we think's going to be on the board. Who do you want?
pretty much, pretty
That's
much,
it. Who do you want? Who do you want it for?
pretty
Hey,
much. I
JJ
mean,
McCarthy, welcome to the Vikings.
if he wants JJ McCarthy, he's going to get JJ McCarthy, and he's going to have to deal with
Nobody
that. Keeps
wants
him
JJ
Minnesota purple.
McCarthy, dude.
I don't know, man. I feel like Justin Jefferson, he's at his peak right now. I'm not saying they should trade him because he deserves the money. Like he's that good. I'm just saying, what's worth more, a QB or a wide receiver? In this day and age, what's worth more? If I'm them, I'm at least considering trading him for possibly a top three pick, maybe even getting two to the second pick or something. I don't know. Like at least think about it because who's gonna throw him the ball? Like JJ McCarthy's not NFL ready. And if you're moving
See,
up to four, you're getting him. I mean, you're getting him. So I don't know.
I have a, I got a lot to talk about this possible trade scenarios. We could move up to 3. New England trying to trade out of it. Washington's wraps. They're getting Jaden
No
Daniels. This is
question,
all
dude.
this is
I,
all draft talk, but I do not think he is a guy we trade, especially to move up. That is our core piece to our team. That is our core star, and there's no way we get rid of that kid, especially coming out of his contract. He wants the money. He deserves the money. He is number wide receiver 1 in my heart and in your.
Nah, Tyreek is
I
one. Tyreek,
I
get it right.
I just can't. I can't see this dude moving out of Minnesota. I really can't. And he even said he wants to stay in Minnesota to hear what the raps were. Kevin O'Connell and Quezzy both went at the head off conference and said, "Yeah, there's no doubt in my mind I will ever trade Justin Jefferson. That never even crossed my mind. That's not even an acquisition that's on the table." So, I mean, I'll leave it to the NFL. We'll leave it to them, and we'll leave it to it is in a few days now. So hopefully we can get some remorse on some of these question marks. But yeah, there's not really much to say about this. I don't know about you guys. I think we can wrap this episode up
Yeah.
and
yeah.
think episode 2's in the books. I mean, this is a good one, and yeah. All right, I'll see you guys on the next episode.
See you in the next one.